Welcome back. For our top domestic story this hour, we are following up on coverage of Saturday's devastating shooting of a Pittsburgh synagogue, marking the deadliest attack targeting American Jews in history. The victims range from age 54 to 97 and include a husband and wife, as well as a pair of brothers. They were killed when a gunman stormed the Tree of Life synagogue on Saturday morning and opened fire with an assault rifle.
As you start to learn more about the individual people, the 11 people, when this comes out to be more than a mass murder of 11 people, but you actually start learning about these 11 people, the horror of this incident becomes more real. They were 11 special people. I didn't know all of them. I just knew a few. But it's really hard knowing their own personal life stories to imagine that this was the way that they left this earth.
The gunman, 46-year-old Robert Bowers, reportedly told officers responding to the scene, quote, "They're committing genocide to my people. I just want to kill Jews." Shortly before the assault, Bowers posted on the alt-right social media site known as Gab, quote, "Hi-ass," meaning the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, "likes to bring invaders in that kill our people. Screw your optics, I'm going in." Bowers was apparently referencing the caravan of migrants traveling toward the U.S. border, as he'd also recently posted images of the refugees on a truck with a Star of David on its side, invoking the anti-Semitic trope that Jews are responsible for the influx of immigrants in the U.S. and Europe. Bowers just made his first court appearance following the shooting. His preliminary hearing has been scheduled for Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. He will remain in federal custody until then. With anti-Semitic acts in question, we're joined now by Ariel Gold of Code Pink Women for Peace. Ariel, as a member of the progressive Jewish community, what was your reaction upon hearing news of this attack?
Well, just devastating, and at the same time not surprising. Since Donald Trump has come into power, we have seen massive increases in violent attacks. These have included attacks on mosques, on Jewish cemeteries, on immigrants, on people of color. And so this is really no surprise. If we look back at the history and the origins of white nationalism, we find that it has these anti-Semitic roots where for a long time they've said that Jews are responsible for bringing in immigrants or for helping gain civil rights of African Americans. And, this is, we just, I think it was last week, heard Donald Trump call himself a nationalist. So it's horrifying and yet unsurprising.
What is your response to those who will hear what you just said and point out the fact that President Trump has been a very strong ally of the Jewish state Israel, even, for example, working to move the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem, and then say to that, well, he's actually quite close to the Jews? What would you say?
I would say that Israel's right-wing government has openly embraced Trump's racism. This is a partnership between Trump and the Netanyahu administration, a partnership of walls, of violence, of keeping out immigrants and refugees, and oppression.
And I also want to get your reaction to some people placing blame on those other than the shooter in this case. For example, President of the Zionist Organization of America, Morton Klein, said on Twitter, quote, "Horrific Israel-bashing rhetoric also leads to a Jewish-hating atmosphere. For example, propaganda lies about apartheid, occupation, oppression, killing babies, etc." He's essentially blaming people like you for this shooting. What is your reply?
Well, let's begin by saying these aren't propaganda lies. Just yesterday, Israel killed 3 children, 3 13-year-old boys in Gaza with a drone strike. And this is an ongoing occupation that is shameful for Jews around the world. What we're seeing is some of the extreme right in Israel, and Israel is controlled by an extreme right government, try to take advantage of this horrible tragedy to push for their own agenda, to conflate criticism of Israel and support for Palestinian rights with anti-Semitism. The shooter was acting on anti-Semitic tropes and racism that are centuries old and have been reignited here in the U.S. And that's very different from the movement, which is growing daily for Palestinian rights.
And there's an irony, of course, in the fact that Morton Klein himself worked quite closely with Steve Bannon, the Trump administration official who actually, on his website Breitbart, promoted a lot of these same tropes that we're now seeing inspired the shooter to carry out this attack. We're unfortunately out of time for now, but we appreciate you, Ariel Gold, Code Pink, Women for Peace, coming on and talking about this really, really terrifying and sad moment in U.S. history.